Some places don't just change your surroundings, they change your soul. You walked in with peace and left with heaviness. Not every door that opens is a door you should enter. Because when God warns you, it's not to limit you, it's to protect your destiny. There are places that shine with excitement, laughter, even luxury, but underneath, they are traps dressed as treasure. We often think the enemy comes with horns and chaos, but sometimes he comes with neon lights, velvet ropes, or a calm voice that says, just stay a while. But not every environment is harmless. Some rooms steal clarity, some streets drain purpose, and some tables, though full, are feasts for your destruction. When God gives you a warning, it's not to cage you, it's to preserve your crown. There are 5 types of places specific and common that may look like blessings, but they are silent battlegrounds. You won't always see the damage immediately. That's what makes them dangerous. They don't destroy you in a single moment. They erode you slowly, day by day, thought by thought, until you're unrecognizable to yourself. The first place you should never visit is the room where gossip breathes. It may seem harmless, even entertaining. But every time you sit in a circle of slander, you plant seeds of self-destruction. You might not be the subject today, but you will be tomorrow. Gossip rooms are places where character is assassinated silently and destinies are delayed without warning. Walk into that space too often, and soon your spirit will carry the same stench of judgment, even toward yourself. The second place you must avoid is the environment of constant compromise. These are the places where your standards lower, not because you're weak, but because everyone else made mediocrity look normal. Places where you tell yourself just this once, and then it becomes a habit. Places where your future is negotiated for comfort. Environments that reward silence when you should speak and reward blending in when you were born to stand out. God warns you not because you're too holy for the world, but because the world is too loud for your purpose to remain pure in those places. The third place to never visit is the room where you're merely tolerated, not celebrated, where you must shrink to be accepted, where your vision is mocked, your voice is dimmed, and your light is treated like a threat. These environments do not nurture growth, they manipulate it. They don't love your progress, they fear it. And if you stay there long enough, you'll begin to believe the lie that your presence is a problem. God removes you from these rooms not to isolate you, but to position you for the right table, where your gifts will be recognized, not reduced. The fourth place God warns you about is the atmosphere of confusion, where everything looks good but feels off, where the people are smiling but your spirit is restless, where the path ahead is unclear and your peace feels stolen. This isn't always physical, it's often emotional and spiritual. You scroll too long. You talk to people who leave you drained. You stay connected to places online or offline that make you question who you are. Confusion is a fog the enemy uses to blind you from divine instruction. If it costs you peace, it's not from God. If it causes inner chaos, step back. The fifth and most dangerous place is the one that makes you forget God. The place that feels so good, you stop praying. The circle that makes you feel so accepted, you stop growing. The success that makes you feel so self-sufficient, you stop surrendering. It could be a relationship, a job, a habit, a luxury, or even a secret sin dressed as pleasure. These places don't confront your faith, they seduce it. They don't attack your belief, they slowly distract you until God becomes a memory, not a priority. When you start to think you don't need grace, you're standing on ground that will soon collapse beneath you. These warnings aren't religious scare tactics, they are divine road signs. God doesn't warn to frighten, he warns to fortify. He sees what you can't. He knows what lies behind the curtain. He understands the trap hidden behind the compliment, the destruction hidden behind the opportunity. You don't have time to entertain the wrong environment. Your calling is too high. Your mission is too sacred, and your soul is too valuable. Learn to recognize the spiritual atmosphere before you get too comfortable. Some places are assignments. Others are distractions. Some are seasons. Others are snares. The wisest people don't just ask, is this place good? They ask, is this place right for me? Because what works for the crowd might be a curse for the chosen. When you honor divine warnings, you accelerate your breakthrough. When you trust that every no is a form of protection, you avoid unnecessary pain. Not every open door is God's door. Not every invitation deserves a yes. And not every atmosphere is worthy of your anointing. If you ever feel that silent tug in your soul, that uneasiness that won't go away, don't ignore it. That's not fear. That's discernment. That's the whisper of heaven saying, you don't belong here. And when God says that, believe him, even if it looks beautiful and if everyone else is staying, even if it feels easier to ignore it, walk away. Because your peace is priceless. Your purpose is rare. And your future is too powerful to be polluted by places that were never meant for you. You've been told that opportunity knocks, but not every knock is divine. Some doors open not to bless you, but to break you. The world will hand you keys to rooms you were never supposed to enter, and when you do, you leave with weight you were never meant to carry. There are places that look like comfort, sound like connection, and feel like belonging, but inside they whisper lies to your purpose. Just because it's open doesn't mean it's right. God sees beyond the decoration. He sees the destruction hidden behind the welcome mat. Walking into the wrong space at the wrong time can reroute your life. You don't need a sign that says danger. You need discernment that says leave, because some doors lead not to destiny, but delay, not to power, but pressure. The longer you stay, the further you drift. You were not made for every room. You were made for the right one. And when God says no, it's not rejection. It's redirection. God's voice often comes as a whisper, not a shout, because protection is quiet when the soul is loud. He's not holding you back from joy. He's holding you together for purpose. We often ask for breakthrough, but ignore the boundaries that guard it. His warnings are not cages. They are shields. There are places that carry invisible stains, weights that cling to your thoughts, your focus, your spirit. You thought you were just visiting, but your peace never came back with you. God sees what you don't. He sees the motives behind the smiles, the traps behind the trends. He doesn't limit you. He frees you from invisible bondage. You pray for clarity, but clarity comes through obedience. When he says, don't go, it's not about fear. It's about foresight. Trust the hand that sees beyond the surface. His no is always filled with love, even when it feels like loss. There's a room where everyone laughs, but no one leaves healed. Where every word seems harmless, yet every sentence slices someone unseen. This is the room of gossip. It sounds like connection, but it's built on corrosion. You think you're just listening, but your silence becomes agreement. You think you're safe because you're not the subject, but the spirit in that room doesn't discriminate, it circulates. Today they talk about someone else. Tomorrow it will be you. Gossip is spiritual poison served with a smile. The more you sip it, the more your heart turns bitter. You can't grow in spaces where dishonor is normalized. God tells you to leave because he knows that your destiny needs a clean atmosphere. You can't fly while dragging down someone else. You can't reach purpose while seated at tables where integrity is devoured. Some circles are not community. They are contamination. Every time you say just this once, you build an altar to compromise. It doesn't feel like rebellion. It feels like relaxation. But every compromise carves away at the integrity of your purpose. You lower your standard just to stay included. Before you know it, what once made you different is now invisible. Compromised environments are dangerous because they don't force you, they seduce you. You begin to tolerate things you used to reject. You laugh at what used to make you cry. And slowly your spirit starts to feel numb. These aren't harmless places, they're slippery slopes. God isn't angry when he warns you. He's grieving for the purpose you're leaking away. You weren't built to blend and you were born to rise above. And the moment you realize your crown is slipping, you must walk out. Don't normalize what God calls toxic. There's a certain pain that comes from being in the wrong room too long. Not physical, but soul deep. You start feeling like your presence is too much, your passion too loud, your dreams too big. These are the spaces where you are merely tolerated. They clap when you lose. They yawn when you win. They prefer the version of you that plays small. And you, in your hunger for belonging, begin shrinking piece by piece. You minimize your voice, hide your brilliance, and soon your own reflection looks like a stranger. God warns you because these environments break people slowly. He doesn't want you around those who fear your light. He wants you a few fuel it. When you're surrounded by insecurity, you'll always question your worth. But when you're in the right space, your purpose feels like home. God removes you not to isolate you, but to elevate you. There's a place where everything looks beautiful, but your spirit feels heavy. Where nothing is wrong on the outside, but everything inside feels twisted. This is the atmosphere of confusion. It doesn't yell, it whispers. It makes you question your direction, your relationships, your identity. You stay in it thinking clarity will come with time, but confusion is not a phase, it's a weapon. When God sends peace, it never comes with panic. The longer you stay in confusion, the louder the wrong voices become. Your discernment gets blurred. Your vision gets foggy. And before you know it, your steps are no longer led by wisdom, but by anxiety. God warns you through the unrest in your spirit. If peace leaves, don't stay. Confusion is not from him. He leads with light, not shadows. Leave the place where your soul forgets its direction. Not every danger is obvious. Some places are wrapped in joy, laughter, and warmth, but are spiritual deserts. The most dangerous places aren't the loud, chaotic ones. They are the ones that feel too good. The places that make you forget to pray. The ones that give you so much affirmation that you no longer feel the need for alignment. The success that blinds you. The relationship that replaces your dependence on God. These places don't challenge your faith, they slowly erase it. You don't notice the drift until you're far from shore. God warns you because pleasure without presence is peril. You don't need to lose your soul to gain applause. You don't need to forget heaven to feel accepted on earth. Anything that makes you forget who your source is not a blessing, it's a threat to your future. Every warning from God is wrapped in mercy. He never shouts in fear, he whispers in wisdom. You might not understand why you feel uneasy, but that discomfort is protection in disguise. God will stir your spirit before he allows the storm. He'll trouble your peace to preserve your purpose. When you ignore the small warnings, you eventually face the big consequences. That's why sensitivity matters. That's why stillness matters. If you're too busy chasing what you want, you'll miss the voice that's trying to guide you. And in the spiritual realm, timing is everything. One wrong place at the wrong time can alter everything. Trust the nudge. Trust the pause. Trust that inner no. That's not fear, it's the Father protecting your future. Not everyone in your life is an ally, and not every place you enter is a platform. Some people are not enemies, but they are detours. They slow you down by offering comfort instead of challenge, noise instead of growth. You were assigned to go further, but you stayed where you were simply accepted. God doesn't just call you to people, he calls you away from people too. He knows what you can't see. He knows which hands carry healing and which ones carry hidden agendas. You can't fulfill your calling while dragging dead weight. You can't fly if you're chained to those who fear elevation. When God removes someone or something, don't grieve the loss, thank him for the clearance. Your path is too narrow for unnecessary passengers. The enemy doesn't always attack with force, he distracts with comfort. You ask for clarity, and he sends applause. You pray for direction, and he sends popularity. Not every blessing is divine, some are decoys. The enemy's goal isn't always destruction, it's delay. If he can keep you busy in the wrong place, with the wrong people doing the wrong thing, then he doesn't need to destroy your calling. It will wither on its own. This is why environments matter. This is why God warns you not only about behavior, but about atmosphere. Because what surrounds you begins to shape you. You don't need to be in a toxic place to be affected. You just need to stay too long in a place that dims your fire. Don't settle for being liked if it costs you being lit with purpose. There are things you feel that you can't always explain. That uneasiness in your chest, the sudden drop in your energy, the fog that rolls into your mind without warning. These moments aren't random, they're often spiritual. When you enter a place that costs you peace, you've stepped outside of your covering. Peace is more than a feeling, it's confirmation. It's God's way of saying you're in the right place. So when that peace disappears, pay attention. It's not paranoia, it's protection. You don't need thunder to know when something's wrong. Sometimes it's the quiet absence of peace that screams the loudest. If being in a space constantly drains you, question it. If your mind races the moment you arrive, evaluate it. No atmosphere is worth your spiritual health. You were not created to live in confusion and call it normal. Peace isn't optional, it's the proof of presence. And when it's missing, Don't ignore it. The people around you are either pushing you toward your purpose or pulling you from it. There's no in between. Some connections feel comforting but are corrosive. They're not enemies, but they're not aligned either. When you're constantly explaining your vision, defending your growth, or apologizing for your light, it's time to re-examine who surrounds you. God never places vision in a cage, and purpose doesn't bloom in rooms where you're misunderstood. Being around people who are comfortable with your stagnation is dangerous. You'll start to feel guilty for growing, scared to shine, hesitant to move. But you weren't made to shrink. You were called to rise. And sometimes rising means outgrowing certain atmospheres. Don't confuse loyalty with destiny. God may call you away not out of pride, but out of preservation. Every step you take toward your calling requires shedding weight that can't survive where you're headed. Your surroundings are shaping your soul, even when you don't feel it. The places you enter, the voices you listen to, the atmospheres you absorb, they leave imprints. You think you're strong enough to remain unaffected, but even light dims in the wrong container. The enemy knows he doesn't need to attack you directly if he can weaken the space around you. That's why God warns you about more than actions. He warns you about environments. Because environments feed habits and habits shape destinies. You can't pray for strength while living in weakness. You can't ask for clarity while marinating in confusion. When God nudges you to leave a place, it's not punishment, it's positioning. It's an invitation to growth, to power, to alignment. He's not just protecting your body, he's guarding your future. Don't stay in a place where your spirit can't breathe, because over time, what surrounds you begins to become you. Delay doesn't always come from disobedience. It often comes from distraction. Not everything that slows you down is evil. Sometimes it's simply unnecessary. You're spending energy where God never told you to sow. You're investing in connections that are draining your creativity. You're showing up in places that applaud you but don't develop you. The enemy is strategic. He'll let you keep moving as long as you're not moving forward. Progress in the wrong direction is still failure. That's why God warns you to pay attention to atmosphere, to rhythm, to alignment. You weren't created to be busy. You were created to be effective. And if your environment is robbing your effectiveness, it's time to reassess. Some opportunities are distractions wearing a mask. Some relationships are detours wearing a smile. The longer you entertain the wrong thing, the longer your breakthrough waits. Don't confuse motion with movement. Clarity comes when you're planted in the right place. When God gives you a warning, it's not just about danger, it's about timing. Your life moves in seasons, and each season has a place attached to it. What was once a blessing can become a burden if you stay too long. Some places were only meant to be bridges, not destinations. But you settled, got comfortable, started decorating what was supposed to be temporary. And now the atmosphere that once elevated you is suffocating you. God doesn't remove you out of cruelty. He removes you to release you, to stretch you, to take you where growth requires new ground. You can't reach your next level in old places. You can't walk in tomorrow's calling while standing in yesterday's comfort. Obedience requires movement, and movement means letting go. Don't grieve what God ends. Celebrate it. Because the place you're leaving is nothing compared to the purpose ahead of you. God never shouts to scare you. He whispers to prepare you. The greatest warnings don't come with chaos. They come with conviction. That tightness in your chest when you enter a room, that nudge that says leave, that moment where peace evaporates without reason, that's not coincidence. That's divine instruction. You don't need to wait for destruction before you decide to move. If God is stirring your spirit, don't silence it. You are not being dramatic. You are being directed. Spiritual intuition is your built-in alert system. And the more you ignore it, the duller it becomes. Until one day you can't feel what's wrong even when it's in front of you. God doesn't want you to survive damage. He wants you to avoid it. So trust the whisper. Trust the pull. When he tells you not here, it's not rejection, it's divine redirection. Not every removal is a loss. Sometimes it's the greatest gift you didn't ask for. When God removes you from a place, a circle, a platform, or a routine, he's not punishing you. He's pruning you. He knows what you can't see. He sees the future conversations, the upcoming temptations, the hidden intentions behind smiles. He sees the spiritual cost you'd pay by staying in that place too long. And because he loves you too much to leave you exposed. He removes you. It may hurt. It may feel lonely. But that space you left will make room for the elevation that's coming. Every closed door is making room for a better one. You didn't lose, you were lifted. You didn't fall, you were freed. Let God be your security, not your surroundings. Because where he's taking you, not everyone in.